Joining us now is 11th year head coach Luke Johnson of the North Park baseball team. North Park coming off a subpar year last year. They started the year 10-5 and ended up the last half of the season 8-17. And in the last 5 seasons, they've appeared in 5 of the last 6 CCIW tournaments. So, Coach, now this is going into your 11th year as head coach of the North Park team. What are your overall expectations for this year's team?
Well, with the way things started at the beginning of last year, obviously we were very encouraged going into the season, and very encouraged going into the conference portion of the season. Opened up with a Carthage team that ended up qualifying for the NCAA tournament, and played some close games at our place in some really cold weather. Came out on the short end of the stick. Went up to Kenosha, played, actually was going to play on a Sunday. Game never happened, ended up playing later in on a Monday. Lost that game, ended up the next day, I believe, playing Illinois Wesleyan. Dropped both ends of a doubleheader, and we found ourselves in a very big hole. And ended up, losing some guys to injury along the way, but it was obviously, we didn't play well enough in those first 5 games to really get a toehold on that, and that, I believe, spilled over. So that took a while to get that righted, and after probably the 3rd week of the conference season, we got some things figured out, beat a very good Augustana team. At the time, who was ranked, I believe, in the top 20 in the country, and beat a guy who ended up being a draft pick. Actually beat the only 2 Division III arms that were draft picks last year. We actually gave them losses. So there were times when we played really well, but there were also times when we played inconsistently. I don't even want to say fairly inconsistently. We played very inconsistently. We had a hard time scoring runs in large chunks of the season, and that was kind of who we were as a ball club. The flip side of that was we pitched really, really well. And I want to say we completed as a pitching staff, I want to say almost 35% of our starts were complete games by our starters, 2 of which, are back on this year's roster. So that does bode very well. But to win in this league, doing 2 out of 3 things right on a given night doesn't cut it. There are times when you have to, and opponents that you play in this league, that you have to beat them in all 3 facets of the game. So obviously everybody focuses on that, but that's what we've been working on since the fall, and then after we started back after break here. So,
talking about what you guys got coming back to this year, you guys got 12 seniors on the 2016 team. Do you think the success is going to come from the pitching, the defense, or hitting? What do you think is that success is probably going to come from this year?
Well, like I previously alluded to, I think it needs to be multifaceted. You have to do all those things well. If you're going to do 2 out of 3 well and give yourself a shot, obviously everybody says pitching and defense is what you need to do. We play in a very offensive, conducive ballpark. So the way we like to play, hopefully we can do a little bit more of that this year. But we return, Jason Meager returns, who was a workhorse for us. You can take a look at the numbers. The wins were, I think, indicative of how we finished as a team, but he was as good as any arm in the conference and completed a ton of games, and I believe walked 5 guys in 80-plus innings, was in the top 5 in the country in that category, which really gives you a chance to win every time he goes out there. Alex Vanucci is another guy who returns in the starting and the rotation as well. Has been pretty good. Jason for the 3 years going into his 4th year, and Alex for 2 years going into his 3rd year. Both those guys have thrown in big games against big opponents and have won. So those are good places to start. Obviously, playing better defense in the middle infield is something that we need to do, and we have addressed that, and we will play better in the middle infield. We'll play better defensively and play better offensively. I think we're going to be pretty good, as ironic or odd as it sounds. We've got a first baseman right now in a transfer, Anthony Bragg, who can really pick it and can do some things defensively at first base that can really bail you out of some innings. So that's obviously, and we graduated a really good one in Joe Belmont.
Yeah, absolutely.
So not having a drop off there, but getting a guy who can continue to kind of push the envelope of the defense that we expect out of the first base side is great. We need to get some things shored up over at third base as well defensively. I think offensively, we did very well over at third base on the offensive side of the ball. It's got to get better defensively. So as a whole, our infield defense needs to improve. We have an outfield that can go catch the ball. We've got some arm strength. We've got actually a lot of options in the outfield, whether they're first-year guys or whether they're returning guys. So we've got some pieces in place, and we've got some very talented newcomers. We've got some guys who have played very well for us at an all-conference level that are returning as well. Dan Saban is a guy, if you look at Dan's numbers last year, Dan got hit in the face against Illinois Wesleyan, was concussed, missed, I think 7 straight conference games, right in the bulk of when we were in bad shape offensively. You take your 3-hitter out for a big chunk of that, and he missed over a quarter of the conference games, and that's That's tough. So Dan being healthy and Dan being able to swing the bat and contribute, whether it's as a DH or as a catcher, as a first baseman, or whatever the case may be, having his bat healthy and having him there for a full 40 slate in the regular season is obviously something that we're looking forward to, because he's been as good of a hitter as I've had here. So keeping him healthy is a priority for us.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned some of those newcomers. Talk about how much the newcomers are going to help this team be successful this year.
Well, when you look at the roster, there's a number of transfers, and there are some guys who are listed as freshmen, but are on their first stint in college baseball that are older. So we've got a couple guys in particular that are 20 years old or older that are first-year college players and first-year students, and so they're physically mature and mentally mature as well. So calling those guys freshmen, I think, is a little bit of a misnomer, but they're eligibility-wise, they're freshmen. So seeing how those guys compete physically against 22-year-old men that they have to compete against, I think is going to be fun. But there's a lot of newcomers, whether those are first-year guys. I mean, in the outfield in particular, we've got a battle in the outfield, and we've got, for the first time in a while, I think there may be 3 or 4, maybe even 5 guys between the infield and the outfield that are sitting watching us play baseball that could be starters.
Wow.
In places. So
Okay.
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a challenge to get all those guys some time. I think we're a little more solid in the infield right now. There are roles that are a little more clearly defined, but there may be some motion there as well. And I've told the guys this quite a few times over the course of the year. There is a very good chance that the lineup on the last day is going to look drastically different than it might on the first day. And it's been a long time since that's happened.
Yeah.
So some of that is just continuing to get guys to compete. That has been a priority. I felt like there were times during the year where we were going so bad last year where we didn't compete at a level that I was comfortable with, and that frustrated everybody. And all we've been talking about every day at practice is how we compete, whether we win or lose the drill, and not necessarily focusing on who's going to be out there. So I think there may be some more interchangeable parts, which I think will be healthy and good.
What about this conference? I mean, only Carthage was the one that advanced to the NCAA tournament. They ended up winning the conference tournament. What are your thoughts on the upcoming season now for the conference as you guys go into 2016?
My thoughts are I don't want to say mixed. When you take a look at this league, and everybody sits here and talks about how it's great top to bottom in every sport, I don't know that there's a sport that reflects that in terms of really 1 through 8 and possibly 9 next year when we get our new member, better than baseball. We have, and I don't know how many other sports in the league can say this, in the last 4 years we've had 4 different conference champions, and in 3 of those last 4 years we've had 4 different teams than the conference champion come through the tournament and get the AQ. A number of those years we've had multiple teams get into the NCAA tournament, and the last couple of years we haven't, and I think that's really a reflection of really on any given day, the number 8 team is beating the number 1 or number 2 team. So it's legitimately happening in the conference. So when you see the 1 team getting in last year, that's something that we talked about as a coaching group at the end of the year in our conference meeting. But when you have a bunch of good coaches who are all doing their jobs and good players, and senior-laden lineups that you see and senior-laden pitching staffs, 1 through 8, you're going to have battles like we've had, and you're going to see some teams. I mean, we had, I want to say, a 26-win conference champion last year. That doesn't happen in a lot of leagues. So I can't tell you who's going to win. Almost every single team that finished in the top 4 last year lost significant chunks, and some of them bring back some significant pieces of their puzzle. But I honestly, I have no idea. I have less of a feel for that this year than probably any other year.
Talk about, the non-conference schedule. You guys open with UW Oshkosh, Buena Vista, and Webster starting February 26th to the 28th. And then you guys have your spring trip from March 12th to the 19th. And then you guys come back and host a 3-team round robin here March 25th, 26th. Is this some of the non-conference teams that you guys got coming in here? Talk about how much the non-conference schedule is going to help you guys as you move into the conference.
It's important. It's important every year. We'll open up with a UW Oshkosh team that was on the bubble and probably should have gotten some votes in the national poll, the first poll that came out. They beat some very good teams down the stretch last year, qualified for the WIAC tournament. They're going to be a good team. Buena Vista's always playing on a national caliber level and plays a very good schedule on top of it. Webster's been to the World Series, I want to say 3 times in the last 5 years.
Wow, okay.
That's a tough first weekend. It's going to be a good first weekend for us, regardless of outcome. We're going to play CCIW caliber opponents, and we're going to see who we are and what we're made of. Then we'll go to Hendricks after that and play a team that's returning a ton on the mound. Got a former player who's a pitching coach there, so that will be fun.
Oh, nice.
As well.
Yeah.
And he'll know some of our tricks and some of our secrets, so we'll have to coach a little bit differently. But then we'll go to Florida and we play College of Wooster, which I want to say won 35 or 36 games last year. We play Johns Hopkins. We play Amherst. We play some very good teams when we're in Florida as well that are NCAA tournament teams or tournament caliber teams. And then we'll come back and host that round robin at our place with some teams that are on the move as well, in Cornell and Dominican and Aurora. So I think we'll be ready when CCIW play starts. I hope the weather is ready when CCIW play starts. But it will prepare us, and I think we will know who we are when that first game rolls around as far as the CCIW is concerned. But as far as, making a trip into the postseason, if you want to have a prayer at a Pool C, you need to play well against good teams in your non-conference slate, and that's always important. And so that is the first piece to the puzzle.
Talk about, too, like this new coaching staff you guys got. You graduated second-team All-CCIW selection, Zach Worsley.
Gold Glove winner.
Yeah, absolutely. ABCA Golden Glove. And now he's the graduate assistant coach for the team. Talk a bit about what he's going to bring to this team as a coach now, GA, for the team.
It's always tough coaching guys that you played with, and he's done a tremendous job. He's transitioned very nicely. His just in terms of the responsibilities that he's taken on, the comfort level that our players and our coaching staff, the rest of our staff, has with him. He's going to be a head coach at some point, and he's approaching his job that way. He's done a fantastic job, so I couldn't be happier. I'm going to miss his defense in center field and miss his presence in our lineup, near the top of the lineup or at the top of the lineup. But he's been able to switch gears, I think, pretty seamlessly. So it's been really fun to watch, and I think good for our team. So, and as far as the rest of the staff is concerned, I couldn't be happier with what we have. You take a look at, what Coach Upwood has done with our pitching staff in the time that he's been here. He took I think a really good system and a really good pitching staff and really good philosophies, and has been able to put his stamp on them, and what they've been doing in terms of the walks that they've limited and how they've been able to continue to go deep into ball games. He's done a great job with our pitchers, so it's wonderful to have him on staff. And then Nick Robinson and Brian Kolb are obviously two of the most decorated players that have played in the conference, and do a great job with our infielders, corner infielders and middle infielders, and with our hitting. So I think we have a very good situation, and it's been fun to work with those guys, and I think our players have had fun working with them as well.
Okay, well, we wish you all the best of luck in the 2016 season, and thanks so much for taking the time.
Thanks, Kevin. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.